Okay, so I have created the array. What you have to use these brackets. I use the same numbers up here. Um, in the second question, it wanted us to subtract the first integer from the last integer. The first integer, it always starts with 0, so I use 0. The last one, we're going to do the length, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is the length. We're going to subtract 1 since we start with 0. So when we subtract 1, that's where we get the 93. And that comes with minus 90. The second one wanted us to create an element called age2 with 9 elements, or a value, an integer called ages2 with 9 elements. Again, we'll start with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But really there's 9 because we start with 0. Down here, it wants us to subtract the value of the first one minus the second one. And that's what I did here. We did age2. And then we got 32 right here. Next, we're gonna go down here and we found the average. So we made the sum 0. I gave an index in age2 up here. And we're gonna do n. That's what this means. We did a for loop. We did the sum plus the equal to average. And next we did an integer of average. I named this one average 2. And I made it equal to the sum divided by the age length. So the length of the whole with all the elements, and we divided the sum, or we divided the sum from the length. And then that's how we got the average of 31. Here we have the name string. So we, like the array up in the first one, you want to use the square brackets to find the average letters. I did the integer average letters, we did equal to 0. I did a for loop. You want to put string length in names. I basically followed the same steps as I did up top. The only difference is you want to do length dot length. And then we're going to do the parentheses right here. So I made a new variable average letter instead of average letters. And then it's equal to average letters divided by names dot length. We're going to use that dot length again. We do the average letter, and the average letter is 3. Next, it wanted us to concatenate all the letters or all the names together with spaces. So I did string students and I made it equal to the little quotation marks up here. Do a for loop, names dot length. And then I did the students plus equals to names, and we do the index right here, and we're gonna add the space so that it spaces it out, the names out for us. That way when we print the students, it prints like this. So to print out the last element of our array, we're going to do names dot link -1. We got Bob, like down here. And that's because, again, when we go up here, we're going to start with 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 elements, but we're going to subtract ones to get the last one. And in the first, it wants us to find the first element, which is Sam. We're going to do 0 since we start off with Sam is our 0. Next one, we're figuring out the length of all the letters. So the length of all the letters, we do an integer name length equals to 0, a for loop string name in the names, name length plus or equals to name dot length. Again, because it's a string, we use the parentheses. We're gonna syst out the name length and we get 23. And we can check it by going up and counting the letters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Yep, 23. Sorry, kind of hard to count with the cursor. So when we go down here, it wants us to create the sums with all the elements. So for all the elements, we do int count equals 0, for int I equals 0, and that's less than names dot length. And we're gonna do a count is out of the for loop plus or equals names dot length. System out count, so it's going to count all the spaces. So 3, 24, 25, 6, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. At least I think that's how it's got 36. Not quite sure where the 36 comes from, but it counted all the elements. This one we're gonna repeat a word. So for this method, it's static string repeat word. We're gonna do the string word in the parentheses, and we're also gonna do int in. That way it allows us to put integers in here. So string new word with the quotations. We're using a for loop. Int I equals 0, I less than n, I, and then the I plus plus our index, new word is equal to, it's supposed to equal to word, and it should return the new word, and then when we printed it out, it should do the hello 3 times. And our next method, I did a static void since we're not returning anything. We're gonna sys print out the first and the last name, and that should, since our first name is equal to Ali and our last name is equal to Ramirez, it should print out Ali Ramirez. Next method is we're using an array. So if it's returns true, so we're going to do a Boolean group of numbers. The integer is someone, so it allows the integers. The reason why we're using a Boolean because we want it to return true if it is greater than 100, and if it's not greater than 100, we want it to return false. Our next method, it wants us to take an array of a double and return the average of all the elements in the array. So how we do that is we want to make it a double since we're using decimals. And when we use the for loop again, we're going to return the average divided by number dot list dot length. So this is where we return this to go back up here. Because it will take these numbers and return it, and it should print out the yeah. Number 11, we're taking two arrays, and if the first array is greater than the second array, then it will return true. If not, it will return false. So since we're using true and false as a return, well, it's going to be a Boolean method. And 12, another Boolean method. Because if we're doing a for loop, or I'm sorry, we're doing an if else statement. So if it is outside or equal true, and if the money in our pocket is greater than 1050, we'll return true. If not, we'll false. And the last one, I was kind of thinking about vacation. So in this problem, it's a public void because we're not returning anything. We're using a string and integer. So to set we're setting money aside. It's going to take the money. We want to see how much is calculated. So we're going to do money save 1 is equal to 0. We're going to do a for loop to see if the money that we set aside is equal. And we're going to do an if statement. So if our money set aside is greater than 4,000, then it will print out, let's go to Paris. If it's not, then we'll have to save up a little more money. And that is my project. Thank you for, yep, thank you. Stop recording.